Hey, it's Jess and welcome back to another speed build in the Havens Hollow save file. Today we are doing the town hall, so basically the workplace of the mayor of Havens Hollow and some other probably NPCs, probably. There's 4 other offices in here besides the mayor's office. There's also a town meeting hall, so a place for the townspeople to come and maybe vote on town decisions or something. And I'm thinking kind of Gilmore Girls, if you know the town meetings from that show, similar to that kind of, but a little more structured than that in Gilmore Girls. There's also bathrooms, of course, and then one of the fun parts about this build is that I made it a museum lot. So with the museum lot, you have to add certain things. So I decided, okay, this is the town hall. There's not going to actually be a museum in this world. So all I'm going to do is kind of make it like a place where all the historical artifacts of this town have been placed. So visitors can come and, look at all the old stuff from Havens Hollow, but also just townspeople can come and learn about the history of their own town, which I think is fun. So that is what this lot is. I think it turns out looking really cool. It is a little silly because this lot has a clock tower, and the lot next to it, the church, has a bell tower with a clock on it. So there's a lot of clocks on this particular street. There might also be one on next week's build because we're doing the library and post office. I think those are the 2 lots I'm going to put on the lot across from this one where the park used to be. But yes, lots of clocks on this street. But when I think of old historical New England buildings, there's clock towers and there's bell towers, and that's just how it looks. So it might look a little silly, but I think it ends up looking really good. I'm proud of this build. I usually fluctuate between absolutely hating a build I've made and then absolutely loving it. I'm sure at some point I'll look back on this and be like, that build could have been so much better. Which I probably will, because the inside, not my favorite, at all. But the outside, I think looks really cool. I spent way more time on the outside than the inside. Speaking of which, this build, I show absolutely everything. Usually when I do a speed build, I'll cut out maybe landscaping, if it's not that interesting, or I'll cut out making the floor plan for the interior of the house. And often I'll cut out me choosing wallpaper, because most of the time wallpaper and flooring takes me ages. I'll spend an hour choosing wallpaper and flooring, which is not fun to watch on a speed build. But I kept everything in, and this build only took me 2.5 hours, which is crazy because it's a really big build, and I spent way more time on smaller builds. So maybe I was just really into it. I did this all in one go, too. Absolutely no time was taken in between, so I just sat at my laptop for almost 3 hours building this thing. But I think it was time well spent. It ends up looking really nice. It fits the area. It's based off of a picture I found when I looked up just town hall on Google. Not even New England town hall. All I looked up was town hall, and I found a building that looked similar to this, and I changed it up, made it my own, and it looks really cool. I've never been to a town hall myself. I've been to Capitol buildings, and that's the closest thing I can think of to this. So I tried to channel some of that energy, I guess. It's more just from what I imagine a small town hall would be like. It's very cozy, very cute, very historical, as the name of this build suggests from the thumbnail and the title. This historical town hall is supposed to be one of the oldest buildings in Havens Hollow. This whole entire street is kind of the oldest buildings in Havens Hollow. This is supposed to be the like old historical quarter of Havens Hollow. And I've said Havens Hollow a million times. If you guys are new to this channel, by the way, Havens Hollow is my mystery save file. So it's based off of New England and inspired by Pretty Little Liars and Gilmore Girls and a bunch of other mystery genre things I've like experienced throughout my time in life. It's also heavily inspired by the save Silent Pines, which is another mystery save file that is set in, I think, the Pacific Northwest, which is my love. I do want to do a Pacific Northwest world later in this save file. My idea is converting each world in The Sims to have its own mystery set within it. So I'd like to do Pacific Northwest, probably in the high school years world, because that world definitely reads Pacific Northwest to me. And unlike New England, I actually have a lot of experience in the Pacific Northwest because I lived there for 4 years and I've driven through it many, many times. So I think that might be my next world. I haven't decided yet because I'm trying to go with the seasons. And I'm trying to think, do I want the Pacific Northwest to be set in winter? Because that is the next season after fall, which is what this world is set in. So decisions have to be made. I'm like getting way ahead of myself. This save file isn't even close to done. Like at this point, I'll have done probably half of the builds in the world, which sounds like a lot, but there's also the fact that once I finish the builds, I'm not done with the save. I have to create all the Sims for it and put in all the clues for the mystery and write the save file and all that fun stuff. I have been working on the case file for this save, for this particular Havens Hollow mystery. I finished up all the diary entries from Corine, our missing person, and I have started working on like run-in interviews that you can do with anyone who resides in Havens Hollow, whether that's actually in a lot in Havens Hollow or if I made them like NPCs for Havens Hollow. And these interviews are pretty much just script style interactions between your player character and the character you run into. So that's what I've been working on. It's been really fun. And I focus more on lesser, not in world characters for the moment. That will definitely change. It's just a little daunting to try and work on the big characters, the major suspects in this case. But anyways, as you can see right now, I'm trying to do a circular pathway thing. I don't use circular walls like ever in this game. It's not for me. They're really difficult to work with, but as paths, it's less difficult because you don't have crazy walls that you have to put windows on, and it doesn't glitch out with a bunch of different things. So I'm acclimating myself to circular rooms and pathways and all that fun stuff. But the circular pathways in this, I think, end up looking really good. I surround them with like hedges, which took a very long time, but I was smart and copy pasted it with a room, so that's cool. In this back here, I'm working on a back garden, so I didn't know what to do in the back of it. I didn't want to do anything that was too park-like, even though maybe this is pretty park-like. I ended up putting a very cultivated garden back there, so you can go out there, you can sit, just experience nature outside of the town hall. And it ends up looking really fun. I used pretty much only white flowers, so it's definitely a cultivated garden. That is, no one assumes different than that. You see me putting in These trees here, I swear I'm obsessed with these trees. Whenever I do very cultivated landscaping, very intentional, I tend to always use these trees, especially with expensive historical builds like this one. I don't know, they just fit the vibe. I'm getting bored of the trees in The Sims. Does anyone else feel that way as well? Just all of the landscaping, I'm so bored of it. I just want more. And you know, I could go out and buy packs that have a lot of landscaping, I guess. But I'm not making money. Makes me want to do CC build stuff, but can't do that for a save file. Like, that's just not possible. Though I am contemplating making CC items for the save file that's like optional if you want to download CC. So kind of what the save file Silent Pines did, where there's a missing persons poster and a few different CC items. That's like an optional download if you want. I'm thinking of doing that. Not sure yet, but that is the general idea, is that maybe I'll do that for this save file. But for now, I am only using in-game items, because, you know, I want it to be as accessible as possible. I know with it being set in Brindleton Bay, it's not super accessible, but I feel like that's a pack that most people have. And at some point, I do want to try to do a completely base game only world in this kind of save file series. But I'm not good enough of a builder yet. Maybe if, as I continue doing these, I'll become better. But that is the general plans for this save file and future save files in the series. Let's talk a bit more about this build. As I said, it is kind of the hub for the mayor. The mayor is the most important character that would use this slot. And the mayor is Corine Sanford, our missing person. She is like rivals with the mayor's daughter. So that's kind of interesting. I won't go too much into that, but kind of outside of, I guess, the mystery lore, there's still other lore within this save file, including that the mayor, she is the first mayor in the history of Haven's Hollow who was not born and raised in Haven's Hollow. Her husband was, but she was not. So quite a few people don't like the fact that she's the mayor and are working towards getting people to vote for someone else in the next election. So not very important to the mystery, unless maybe it is. I try to keep you on your toes. But that is what's going on with the mayor. She's very stressed, very uptight kind of person, but she's really, really good at her job, and that's why she got it. So that is our mayor, our Haven's Hollow lore. And this build, I just think it ends up looking really cool. I like it a lot. It is very, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe I should just stop trying to describe it. But it ends up looking cool, I think. It fits the aesthetic I was hoping to achieve, and it gets everything done that needs to be done. It works completely as a museum, so if you just want to add this to your game as a museum in Brindleton Bay, go right ahead. It has everything it needs for that. And it also just looks cool. It fits in with the rest of this world. I think this neighborhood has been my favorite. I like it a lot more than the last neighborhood I did, which was Whiskerman's Wharf down by the pier. I always forget what this neighborhood is called, but it's far more my style of build. I love doing kind of historical colonial builds, and I also got to do 2 residential lots in this neighborhood, which I'm much better at than community lots. But this community lot turns out really great. I think this is my favorite community lot besides the country club down in Whiskerman's Wharf. I can't decide between the two of them. I like them both a lot. I think I do like the country club a little better though because it's bigger and it's more challenging. But I think this one looks really clean, really nice. So I'm proud of myself. It's nice to be proud of yourself every once in a while, right? So here I'm doing all the landscaping, which ends up taking a really long time. We're already halfway through the build and I pretty much just started landscaping. Most of my time I feel like was spent placing down things, especially in the back, because I placed down so many plant items. Like, it's almost scary how many plant items I placed down. But it's cute, I guess. I'm never great at describing landscaping. I'm not great at doing landscaping either. It's definitely not one of my biggest skills in building in The Sims 4. Landscaping is something I struggle with. And especially cultivated landscaping like this, where everything looks very intentional and everything has a place, that's what really gets me, because it almost looks too perfect. I'm like, I don't want it to look too perfect, it's landscaping, but I'm like, this is like a town where they hire a professional landscaper to take care of this landscaping, like on a regular basis. Like this is normal. I have to remind myself that. But I do think the landscaping ends up looking quite good. All the flowers are kind of white or maybe pale yellow. So the uniformity I find helps me restrict myself and helps with the general landscaping design. And this back here, I wanted it to be full of flowers and plants and just very lush and green, a place you'd want to come out and, study or read. That's what I wanted to achieve with this back garden here. And I end up using a lot of the romantic garden stuff flowers, which are very pretty. I think they're some of the prettiest white flowers we have in the game. So that's what I end up using here. And yeah, it's probably one of the better landscaping jobs I've done. Landscaping, not my forte. But I try. I try with my landscaping. Maybe one day I'll actually get into terrain manipulation. I hate terrain in The Sims. Like, it's really cool if done right, but something like a save file I don't think benefits from terrain manipulation, because since the game was put out without terrain manipulation, the whole entire world is flat, and if you suddenly add terrain onto a lot, it ends up looking really strange. But that's my opinion. I'm sure people have pulled it off really well. I'm just not one of those people. And here I'm adding all the white flowers. It's definitely very repetitive, but I think all Sims 4 landscaping is, at least my Sims 4 landscaping. I end up putting a few different things back here. I put some not bird feeders, bird baths. That's the word I'm looking for. That's a little later. Now I'm moving on to the floor plan, which I change up a few times, as you'll see. But downstairs we have the bathrooms and the town meeting hall. We have some of the historical stuff. And then upstairs we have the mayor's office and the other offices for whoever else works with the mayor. This is not my forte. Politics is not something I'm well aware of. So if you know who else works alongside a mayor and who would be included in the offices in a town hall, do let me know. Because at this moment, I know nothing. I know very little. And yeah, this build is getting on its way. I don't spend too much time furnishing it. I thought I spent way more time furnishing it than I actually did, but I got the furnishing done pretty quickly, and that's probably because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. It's also a smaller lot. I'm trying to compare this to something like the country club, which took me hours and hours to furnish because it's a massive lot. This one's much smaller. And I think smaller builds are more beneficial because it doesn't get too repetitive and it doesn't get too crazy and empty. But, you know, as I said, I'm not a great builder. I'm working on it. I'm getting there. And that's kind of all I have to say about this lot for now until we get into some of the more details of the interior. So let's go into some life updates. I've gone through more 3/4 of this video without talking about life updates, which is strange for me because I like to yap about myself. But it's probably because this week hasn't been all too interesting. It's the new year. I started working out for the new year because I'm not someone who works out. I mean, last year I worked out a little bit. It's been 6 months since I worked out. Okay, so working out, not something I do often, not something I love. But for the new year, I was like, okay, the month of January, I'm going to try to do 4 days a week of working out. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day. You know, that's at least something I can do. So I started working out. It's been interesting. I've done full body mainly. I'm sore. I'm trying to keep up the energy to continue this. And other than that, my life is so boring. I'm just waiting anxiously for updates on my visa and getting spam calls from the exact same tax fraud company, whatever. So that's my life this past week. That's what I've been doing. I've been playing some Sims on my own, which has been fun. You know, ever since I started my channel, I haven't been doing as much simming on my own because whenever I play Sims, I kind of have to record. So just doing some current household stuff, and I've been using alpha hair again, which is wild. I don't know which one I prefer, honestly. I definitely prefer Maxis Mix for my actual YouTube gameplay recording because it doesn't make the game as slow. But I do love myself some good alpha hair. Alpha hair is so cool. So that's been my week. That's been what I've been doing. And that's kind of it. So I guess I'll talk about the build, find something to talk about. I make this bathroom a lot more commercial than some of the others I've been doing. We actually have paper towels instead of cloth towels. Who would have imagined? Both the bathrooms are exactly the same. They end up looking cool. I like that I finally was able to use stalls. I think the only other lot in this world where I've been able to use bathroom stalls was the golf and park in Worcester Winds Wharf. And those stalls are very cramped and kind of crazy, so it was fun to use stalls in the bathroom. I don't get to use them often because I usually make really small bathrooms, so it was fun. And now here I'm moving on to the town meeting hall where I imagine all the Gilmore Girls style town meetings happen. And townspeople can come in and they can vote on town things, I guess. I don't know. I don't live in a small town. I don't participate in things like this. The only time I do stuff is when I go to the library to pick out a new book, which I haven't done in a while. I've been trying to read this massive book that I got, and I've renewed it 4 times. I've had it for at least a month and a half now. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's just been a month. By the time this renewal will be over, I'll have had it for a month and a half, which is a little ridiculous. Usually I can breeze through books really quickly, but lately reading has been so difficult. I don't know if my attention span is just completely ruined by social media, which, it probably is. But I've been trying to read this book, and I don't know why I'm struggling so much because it's a really, really good book. I don't know. Maybe it's just because my sister is out of school right now, so all I do is spend time with her when she's not off with her boyfriend, and when she is off with her boyfriend, I film videos because that's the only time I have to film videos. So reading has been difficult. I'm trying to read more. I'm going to bring, I think, 12 books with me when I move, so that I'll have a book a month and try and force myself to read a book a month. Though, honestly, I might do 6 books and then do 6 like online books through my library, because traveling with a lot of books is not fun, and it's also not cheap. So we'll see. Oh, this here, that object, the kind of 3D map of Brindleton Bay. So cool, by the way. I wanted to put it downstairs, but because of the staircase, there wasn't room for it. I was like, okay, I've already finished this all. Let's put it in the mayor's office. And I move it around a bit. And it ends up looking really cool. I love that item. I love that piece. I also put a actual, like, I guess, ink drawn map also in the mayor's office. Here you'll see me using a bunch of the cats and dogs paintings to kind of establish a historical museum-esque area in the town hall. I tried to put items that I thought fit Haven's Hollow the best, and you know, it turns out looking really fun. There's that ink drawn map I was talking about, and this lot I just think is really cool. It doesn't have a lot of gameplay you can do. It has a lot of supposed gameplay, like going to town meetings and going to visit the mayor's office and look at all the fun historical stuff and visit the garden and maybe read out in the garden. All that could maybe be achieved in The Sims, but you know, The Sims is not very thorough with its gameplay. So those aren't quite complete options for us. But I do like how the furnishing turned out. It could have been better. It's not my favorite interior I've ever done. There's definitely quite a few spots that feel very empty. But you know, I wasn't going to spend hours and hours doing the furnishing in this. Especially not after I spent so long doing the exterior of this build. I was like, okay, I'm going to get done what needs to get done, make it look good, and then I'll be done. I'll have to come back in anyways to add clues and items like that. So more items will be added to this. I'm not sure what room I want the clues to be in the town hall yet. Like the mayor's office maybe, but would Corine ever go into the mayor's office? But also, it doesn't have to be clues that Corine left behind. It can be maybe the mayor has something on her records about Corine and her rival, school rival, that is the mayor's daughter. Who knows? I'm trying to think of things. As I build for the save file, I always try to, I guess, contemplate what I can add to the build that would make sense for the story. And also think of the story while I make the build and be like, okay, clues can go here, and maybe this is a clue, and this is something that Corine did in this building, and yada yada yada. A bunch of stuff like that. So that is kind of my mindset as I go through and build this. I try to think of the case file, because every lot in this game, in this world, I guess I should say, is important to Corine's story, even if it's just like minorly important. There's at least clues on that lot that hint at what happened to Corine and how she went missing, why she went missing, where she is. So, yeah. And now I'm finally onto the mayor's office, which is the last room in this build. I end up moving chairs around a million times and doing a bunch of stuff. I end up liking how it looks. It is a little barren, but as I said, I imagine I'll put quite a few of the clues in the mayor's office for the case file. So I'm sure it'll be filled with more items by the time I actually publish the save file. But as it is on the gallery, this is what it looks like. And you can go and download it from the gallery right now. My gallery ID is in the description. It's basically just my YouTube name with a number attached to it. So it's not too difficult to find. And yeah, that was this build. I'm pretty much at the end of it, so I hope you like this build. I hope you like the historical center of Haven's Hollow. And that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of Haven's Hollow. I'll see you next week. Bye.